Hello, my friends. Hello, I'm a little bit early, but let me let everybody know that I am finally here. I have not done a live in a minute, but I'm super excited to be doing this live. I especially have not done a live with a interview in a little bit. So I'm really excited to be doing this one tonight because this is another exclusive interview that I'm really excited to be talking about. And y'all know how I feel about exclusive interviews and getting stories out. Hopefully he'll come join us, and getting stories out that need to be told. Stories that are cold stories or cold cases, and stories that need to be solved. So I heard about this story by one of you guys, by one of my followers. And it really kind of was one that I was like, okay, I just started. In fact, my guest isn't even here yet. So I just invited him. In fact, if anybody follows Ashley Barnett's sister, I just invited him, and you want to go to his live and let him to end that live and come over to my live, I would absolutely love that. So he knows that I've started. Because I told him, let's all join on my live. It's just easier. Hi, Campbell. It's just easier to do one live. Then we can have all questions here. And so if anybody follows Ashley Barnett's sister, wants to go on the live and just say that I've started my live, and if he could end his and just come over here, it would just be much easier. I would super, super appreciate that. So before we do that, he's about to join like really any minute, hopefully, because this live isn't supposed to start until 7 Central. But for those of you guys who don't know, let me just take a real quick sip. I had to like inhale my dinner. Hang on. Single mom, single working mom, son in football. Y'all know the whole thing. And I can also send him, let me just make sure that he understands, like, can you come over to my live now? I'm just sending him a message. To my live now. Please. Got to use those manners. Okay. So, if he doesn't join in a few minutes, like, maybe I'll have one of my regulars, like Dee or Gamble or someone, like, go over or Michelle or someone. Hi, Michelle. Go over and ask him to come end his live and come over to mine, which is what we had talked about. So, okay, for those of you guys who don't know, I'll give a really brief summary before he comes over and joins. Hello, Michelle. So let me just give a high-level overview of who I am, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's going to be happening tonight. So I'm Cindy, and welcome to my TikTok channel for those of you guys who don't know. And I used to be an investigative reporter for 6 years for a CBS affiliate in New York. And one of the things that I did actually was help get a man who was, yes, keep pushing that like button. Thank you, loves. Get a man who was wrongly convicted of unaliving, I hate the fact that I can't say that word, his 4-year-old daughter. He was in prison for many years. I worked to get him free. He was innocent. I knew it. And we became friends, and his name is Frank Pickard, if anyone wants to look him up. And so I am very much an innocent until proven guilty kind of person. If anyone has followed, many OGs are here. Hey, Peyton! Oh, with that new baby. Oh my God. We need to see that baby sometime. And so, hi, Michelle. And so I am a very innocent until proven guilty kind of person. I was that way with the Idaho case. if any of my OGs know that, have watched me since then, they sort of know that I was very vocal about that for a while. We are not going to talk about Idaho, this case. But one of the things that I really love doing is to put my reporter hat back on and interview people. I miss it a lot. And so I have done, not on court TV. This was a long, I wish I was Kimberly Guilfoyle. No, but thank you. This was a long time ago. I mean, I was a reporter I reported on 9/11, if that tells you anything. Thank you so much, Peyton. I love doing the interviews. So I was, this was a long time ago. Frank Pickert died, has passed away since then. A lot of it was because of what he dealt with in prison. I knew he did not kill his little girl, you guys. She was 4 years old. I knew he did it. So I fought. So anyways, long story short, one of the things that I like to do, I joined TikTok because of the Idaho case. I had no one to talk to about it. And then it just sort of, due to a lot of drama, and my OGs know this, with TikTok, and things that happened with the Idaho case, I stopped covering it for a while. And I started focusing more on cold cases and cases that were not getting a lot of coverage. And that is sort of my niche now. And I love that. And can I get some of my I know I have moderators in here. Gamble, I'm pretty sure you're one. Michelle, I'm sure you're one. Dee, I'm sure you're one. Peyton. Can I get you guys to moderate for me, please? And so thank you, Peyton. So, and I'm going to probably need one of you guys to go over to Ashley Barnett's sister. I've invited him now twice hi, Sheila. And maybe tell him to end his live and come over to this live. Hi, Carrie, please, if you don't mind. Otherwise, I'm going to have to end this live, go contact him, and I don't want to do that. And so as a result, I like to do these sort of exclusive, if you will, interviews, and I've been really, really lucky with them. And I've done quite a few of them, including I did the only interview with Turtle Boy and Boundless Millennial. That's a great interview. You guys have to go on YouTube and watch that, about Karen Reed. And then I've done, if you guys don't know the Kirby Carpenter case, I have done many interviews with his, That's Okay, Gamble. I think Peyton is modding for me now. I've done many interviews with Kirby's sister, and we've actually become friends. And as a result, she thanks me and my followers for helping to get that case resolved so quickly. I have become, there's just a lot. So if you want to go on my YouTube channel and see, this is why I don't do lives as often as a lot of people, because I like my lives to be sort of, if you will, special. And doing interviews is one way that, okay, thank you, Michelle, that I can do that. Right, OG? So you guys, I'm going to ask, maybe Gina, you can go over to, hi Gina, Ashley Barnett's sister. I don't know if you're following them, or Gamble, one of you guys, one of my regulars, and just say that my live started, and if he could come over to this, end his live, which is what we had talked about, and come over to my live and bring all of his people who he's talking to. This is what we had talked about, so we can start his interview. That would be great if one of you guys don't mind doing it. His TikTok name is Ashley Barnett's sister, and he's in I've tagged him in a million of my stories, my latest one. So hi, Kim. If one of you guys don't mind doing that, I would greatly appreciate that, because we're 5 minutes late and I don't want to hold you guys up and I want to start this interview. Just let me know if you guys can do that. So tonight's interview is with Ashley Barnett's sister. And for those of you guys who don't know Ashley's story, I will give you a brief rundown on it. So most of you guys know Amy Bradley. If you don't, there's a documentary on Netflix that just came out on her. And Amy was on a cruise ship with her family, and her body was never found. She was sitting on a balcony, and allegedly her dad looked out there at about 5 o'clock in the morning. She was asleep on a lounge chair, and at about 6:30 he woke up, the sliding glass door to the balcony was still open, or was open, but Amy was no longer on the balcony. And to this day, they have no idea what happened to Amy. And her body was never found. And there are many, many, many people who think that she is on the island of Curacao being trafficked. Words I can't say. I think you guys can figure that out. There's photos of her that if you guys watch that documentary, the FBI forensic photographers or whatever they are have looked at those photos and said, okay, this is her. Like, it looks exactly like her. And that case is, I think 30 years old, 25 years old. And has brought a lot more attention to the safety of cruises. I myself have never been, thank you, Michelle. Hi, Willa. I don't know if anyone's gone over yet. Otherwise, I'm going to have to end this. Can one of my regulars, please go over? Hi, Jessica. Jessica is watching my live, girl. Hey, girl. If one of you guys, my regulars, can go over. Thanks, Peyton. I really appreciate it. Just tell him, like, we've talked about this. He needs to come over, end his live, and come over to my live with all of his people. Because that's what we had talked about. Ashley Barnett's sister. Hey, Tina. So let's say, okay. So that case has brought a lot of attention to cruise safety. If you watched that documentary, you saw a woman in there who said, my daughter also died on a cruise. And she now is like, her job is investigating, or she started and I'm going to get this wrong, which is why we're going to talk about this, a group that's really all about cruise safety. And nobody really knew, like, same Dr. Susan, they make me so freaking nervous. I've never been on one, and I have no desire to go on one. Here's the thing with cruises. You are, like, in unterritorial water, right? Like, there's no, like, guidance. Like, there's also no police. Like, you're basically on a floating city, and there's no one to use. Exactly. There's, like, who's the police on these cruises? Like, okay, thank you, Peyton. Like, seriously. And so, okay. So anyways, thank you, Gina. Thank you, Gina. So anyways, long story short, this woman was on there saying, my daughter died on a cruise too, but never got into detail of it, right? So then a couple of my followers, who, by the way, you guys are freaking amazing. Whenever oh, there he is. Okay, I'm going to invite you now. Cancel. Okay, I just sent you. If you could accept that invitation. There we go. And make sure you put your video on so we can all see you.
I don't know why it's not working. Hold on, let me get it turned on.
Okay. So I was just explaining about your mom being on the Amy Bradley. There we go. Hello. Okay. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but I was just saying, hopefully you told all your followers to come over here too, to watch you over here. Okay, good. Saying how your mom was on that Netflix. I want you to explain that a little bit more, but we were talking about Amy Bradley. We were talking about being on a cruise and how there's really absolutely, I mean, like, who is the security or police on cruises? Like, there are none. I mean, there really is none, right? Like,
it's a private contractor. So the cruise line just hires a private security company that's based out of, like, some other country, and they're not responsible basically for anything the security companies do. So if anything were to ever happen, you can't go after the cruise line. You end up having to go after that security company separately.
And you're, correct me if I'm wrong, you are on international waters, right? So, like, you're not following American laws.
Exactly.
You're not following Mexican, like, whose laws are you following when you're on a cruise?
It's all maritime law.
So, explain to us what that means.
Well, nobody really knows. I mean, at least nobody I've talked to really knows. The problem is, if you go hire just any regular attorney, understand maritime law. So you have to find an attorney that specializes in maritime law.
Okay, so let's get started then before we just jump right into this. I sort of explained who I was. So, first of all, thank you so much for being here, for doing this interview with me. I know this isn't an easy topic for you to discuss, but if you could really quickly introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and tell us why you decided to sort of do this interview today.
Yeah, sure. My name's Seth Barnett. My sister, her name was Ashley Barnett. She passed away back in 2005 on a cruise from Long Beach to Mexico. She was on a cruise with her boyfriend and four other people that she was, I guess, friends with, but that's kind of a stretch. I would say more acquaintances with. And she passed away from the toxic effects of methadone, which, if people don't know what methadone is, it's a medication used to wing people off of opioids and heroin. And we were able to prove through her autopsy that she did not have any kind of habitual use of drugs. So when her boyfriend was asked, well, first of all, her boyfriend refused to talk to my mom that day. So my mom got called by the cruise line to tell us that my sister had passed. And my mom initially asked to talk to her boyfriend and was told that he was in questioning, which we thought would have been some sort of police, either Mexican authorities or FBI or somebody, but turns out it was the cruise ship's security that was questioning him. Then later that day, the nurse called my mom again, and my mom asked to talk to her boyfriend, and the nurse told my mom that he was refusing to talk to my mom. So the next day, he ended up calling my mom. They talked for, I want to say, about 10 or 15 minutes, and all he said was he didn't know how the methadone got in her system, which we didn't even know that was the cause of death at that point. So that strikes me as weird.
Yeah.
And then after that, he didn't contact me because I knew him. He didn't contact any of my siblings. He did try to come to the funeral, but we were already in the church, and a family friend turned him away. I don't remember. I know it's been 20 years, so I don't remember if that was discussed with the family of like all of us, like, hey, if he shows up, what do we do? I don't know if that was a conversation, but I do know he got turned away. And he has publicly in interviews, I think when he did the 48 Hours episode, he was claimed to be very hurt by the fact that he was turned away from the funeral.
Yeah, I read that. I read that in the transcript of that one. He did say that.
But I mean, I probably wouldn't have been able to talk to him that day anyway. So I don't think that would have changed anything. But yeah, and then I decided to get on here. Really, my wife and I sat down to watch the Amy Bradley is Missing docuseries. And I knew my mom was on it, so that was why we were watching it. And watching the way Bradley was so involved with his parents and trying to find out what happened to Amy and stuff was kind of motivating to me. And my wife and I talked, and I was like, hey, what if I get on, my mom doesn't use social media, so I was like, what if I get on TikTok and tell Ashley's story, and maybe we can get the word out there enough that somebody that was with her will finally talk to us. So that's why I got on here.
So, Seth, I think there's a couple things that are really critical. Obviously, I've read so much. Like I said, I read the 48-hour transcripts. I've been watching your videos. I've read a ton of information about Ashley. I think there's a couple important things that you stated that I want to delve a little bit deeper into. Mm-hmm. The most important thing that I think you said first is there was no proof of any drug use. And I think it's important that you talk about that and tell everybody about because this is really important. How, okay, so the autopsy in Mexico was inconclusive, right?
Yeah.
So, and yet her boyfriend, Jeff, right? That was his name.
Well, yeah.
That's what it said in 48 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
I just don't say his name, but that's
Okay. I apologize.
No, you're good.
Okay. And knew that it was methadone, which is very interesting, as you said. Then your family hired a private medical examiner to do an autopsy back here. Explain to everyone, because I think this is very important. It's not like you did a urinalysis or a blood test. Explain to everyone how you found out that Ashley had no rug use in her system at all, because this is extremely important, I feel.
Yeah. So something that I don't think anybody knows unless they've gone through it is that to get Ashley back to California, she had to be embalmed. So we arranged through our private forensic pathologist and the Mexican authorities to have some samples set aside so that he could conduct an autopsy here. Now, it was still extremely limited because she had been embalmed, but they used her hair follicles and fluid from her eye to determine if she had any history of drug use. And he said, for sure, there was no history of it.
Yeah, and for those of you guys who don't know, like, rug use in your hair stays there for years. So, like, it's so much more in depth than any other type of testing there is. I hate that we can't say the word, but it's so much more in depth than any other type of testing that there is. So I think that in itself proves that it wasn't like she was out there, doing rugs on a daily basis and she was, OD'd from this. So that's one thing that I think is really important to point out. The second thing is, tell us how long she was in a relationship with her boyfriend.
I don't know specifically. I know it was at least a year. Mm-hmm. They had known each other since freshman year of high school. So I guess, what is that, 14, something like that. So at least they had known each other for 10 years. They didn't ever date in high school. They didn't date until, they were out of school and living their lives. But I knew his younger brother pretty well. But they were dating for about a year.
Long enough where he knew your family, though, and should have picked up the phone and called, versus the nurse, because I think that's another thing that's important. The nurse from the cruise ship being the one who told your mom. Is that correct? I read that.
Yeah. So
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm on the same wavelength. I think it's super strange that we had to hear it from the cruise line and not from him. Or from, at the very least, one of the other people that was on the cruise with him. He could have delegated that.
I apologize. My smoke alarm, of course, is going off right in the middle of this. So just bear with me for 1 second while I close my door. That's what happens when your son. That's what happens when your son meal preps. So, oh my God, hang on. Sorry. And then the dogs go crazy because they hear it. Oh my God. My house that I rent, they decided to put the smoke detector like right over the stove. So I know my son is going crazy. Hey, Bree. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Logan, can we deal with this, please? I'm on a live. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, oh my God, he's in so much trouble. Yes, he's a meal prepper. He's meal prepping his lunch for tomorrow. So the other thing that I think is really important that we talk about, which, there's so much into this. There's so much into this story that drives me crazy that I want solved, that I don't even know how you're being so calm and patient about it, probably because you've been dealing with it for so long. Yeah. So Ashley was, so the cruise was leaving from the Los Angeles area to go to Mexico, correct?
Yes.
And they were celebrate. Part of the reason they were going was to celebrate her 25th birthday.
Yeah.
One of the things that I read, and I want you to talk about this a little bit, and I'd love to know what everybody in the comments think about this, because this, Seth, when I read this, absolutely blew my mind. So we know, and your family knew, and it's my understanding that your mom was very understanding of this, was that he was a rug user, like he had an addiction problem, correct, to Vicodin. And that is why he had the methadone in the first place, correct?
Yes.
And that he decided that he was going to detox himself off of Vicodin on this cruise ship, which, okay, first of all, that when I heard that, I was like, this is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life, because like, how is this going to happen on a cruise ship? Then I also heard it, or read, I apologize, that many of the people, the witnesses or the people who were on the cruise ship, said not only was it a cruise ship, it was specifically, it was a 3-day party cruise ship. Like it was like a party ship where it was like, they called it a rave on the sea for 3 days. So he knew that he wasn't going on like a cruise ship where it was like, oh, let's sit back and relax and like go to the spa and sightsee. It was like concerts, alcohol, more concerts, and more alcohol. Like, yeah. So realistically, like to me, that blows my mind. Like, do you, I mean, so, and like, you kind of, I mean, exactly, Gina, like this is like, it literally blew my mind when I read that. As a family member, as her, like, did you have any idea that he was like going to detox on this cruise, or when did you find that out?
Yeah, no, I didn't find that out till later. So before the last time I talked to Ashley, we actually argued about him. So I didn't ever really think they were good together. My mom was more gracious with him being a rug user than I was. I was not okay with it. Ashley, you know, she was an amazing person. She was like, could see past that and said, oh, he's a good guy and he just needs help. And so I mean, it wasn't an argument, but we went back and forth about, I think you deserve better. You shouldn't be with him. And, but she did tell me that she had told him that he had to stop or she was going to leave him.
Yeah.
So I know that conversation was had. I don't know if that was the influence for him to say, hey, I'm going to detox on this cruise. It very well could have been he was going to detox because she said he had to quit. But if you're going to detox, why do you have Vicodin with you also? I've never detoxed, so I don't know.
Right.
Right. I mean, maybe it is a thing. You need to have it in case. I don't know. But regardless, we do know the methadone was not prescribed to him. We know that. So at the very least, I don't understand why nothing was ever done about that.
Right. And I think that that's an important thing to talk about. First of all, I am not a nurse either. Thank you for the love, y'all. Everyone who's giving love. I am not a nurse or a doctor. I will tell you, because of my chronic illness, I am on pain meds. I have been for several years. And I do know that if I were to go off of them, which I hope I eventually will, you either go on something like a Suboxone or something like that for a short period of time, or you step down like very, very, very slowly, where it takes you like months. You do not do both, at least according to my doctors, because I have talked to them. Like, I'm in chronic pain every day. So like, if it's going to happen, I'd love for it to happen. Oh, look. But like I, would love for it to, but I will tell you, according to my very well-educated doctors, and you don't do both. So he clearly, and the fact that he didn't have the methadone legally, I think exactly to your point, is why is nothing being done about that? Also, Seth, I think it's really important that you tell everybody where the methadone was stored and how he got it in.
Yeah, he emptied out a Dayquil bottle and put the methadone in the Dayquil bottle. Now, there's been some back and forth with whether it was Dayquil or NyQuil. To me, that's tomato, tomato, who cares? It's still cough syrup emptied out, and then methadone was put in it. Now, he has very adamantly said that she knew it was in that cough syrup bottle. I don't know if I believe that, but that's what he claims. Yeah, I don't get that at all. If you're gonna bring it on, just bring it on in the bottle it's supposed to be in, I guess. But rug sniffing dogs aren't looking for methadone. They're looking for, you know, the devil's lettuce.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
So Ash asked, what is methadone? So methadone is a rug that they prescribe you that to get off of other rugs. It allegedly blocks like the part in your brain where you get high off of rugs. However, it is still a rug itself, and you can still die from it. And when I was researching this, because I didn't know a ton about methadone either, I'll be honest. I mean, I do watch Intervention. I love that show on A&E. But I didn't realize how much of a small amount it took for someone like your sister who has never done rugs, let alone, right, you don't get high from, exactly, Gina. Yes, you don't like necessarily get like the buzz that you would off of like, you know, like a heroin or something. It is illegal if you're not prescribed it, 100%, yes. And I didn't realize that it took such a small amount. But for someone like your sister who was not a big person at all and never did rugs, like I think I read it took like half a teaspoon, like a very tiny, tiny amount.
The way it was explained to me is it could just be a few drops if you don't have an opioid addiction, built up in your system. It could take just a couple of drops.
Yeah. And so one of the things, so there's so much that I think I want to get into, but before we do that, because I know people are going to ask this question, is one of the things again that I read about this, that whether or not and Tina, you're happy to share that later. You want to come up later or whatnot, please. One of the things, he was not prescribed it, Ash. No, we don't know where he got it. One of the things that I read that I don't know if he said or one of his allies said, and not much to a see what Southern Redhead said, not much to a non-opioid user is lethal. See, now again, I don't know if he said this or one of his allies said this, but I definitely read this somewhere, and I'd like for you to clear this up. That Ashley allegedly had a cold, and that she maybe took NyQuil or whatever it was, mistaken for thinking that it was the real thing. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, she was sick actually. She had a cold. But that's why I think it's so important that her boyfriend says she knew what it was. Mm-hmm. Now if she didn't know, I could get behind she took Dayquil or NyQuil to feel better because she wasn't feeling good. She didn't know it was in there. That would make sense to me. But he is so adamant that she knew what it was that we're kind of stuck in which one do we believe? So I don't know. I don't know what to think there. But she did have a cold. We did know that.
Do we know how much was in her system?
They could not determine that just because of having to. So they didn't test for it at all, I don't think, in Mexico.
Right.
When they did the test here, he couldn't determine how much it was. He could just determine that it was in her system, and that's what caused her to pass.
So another very important part of this story is obviously the night that she passed and what happened that night. Yes, it is liquid ash. Yes. And I obviously read what happened, but if you want to kind of explain and walk through what took place that night, because I think it's really important for everybody to understand what was going on that night.
Yeah. So it was the first night of the cruise. They had gone to a concert and then gone to the casino. And Ashley wanted to go to sleep. And to be honest with you, I didn't find this out until like last week, which is because my mom and I talk very frequently, but we don't usually talk about what happened. We'll talk about Ashley, but we don't usually talk about what happened. But I brought it up, and because I was always told we didn't know what they were arguing about. They argued on their way back to the room. They argued in the room. I was always told we didn't know what the argument was about, but my mom told me that she was told that they argued about getting up early to go off the ship at port. So they argued for however long, and then got back to the room at about 2 a.m. The boyfriend left the room to go back out to the casino. He says he came back at about 4 a.m, fell asleep.
Yep.
Then he got up in the morning and said that Ashley was still sleeping and he wanted to let her sleep in.
Yes, that's what I read.
To me, that makes zero sense now that I know what they were arguing about. But to just get through the story, he says he wanted to let her sleep in. He goes to meet up with the other people they were on the cruise with for, I guess, about an hour. He comes back to the room and he said that Ashley was still not up. So he went to wake her up and she wouldn't respond. So he tried to open her eyes, he said, which to me, if she's not responding, I'm not going to, that's a personal thing. I'm not going to try to open her eyes. But he calls the equivalent of 911 on the ship, goes out into the hallway, yells for help. Took about 5 minutes for the nurses to get there. There was a volunteer firefighter about a couple of doors down from them. He was the first one there. He started CPR. The nurses came, took over CPR. The doctor got there about 5 minutes after the nurses did. And it took them 30 minutes to get a defibrillator to the room. So according to the volunteer firefighter, my sister was still, the term he used was viable. Now the cruise line claims that she was cold to the touch and that she had been gone for a while. So we have two conflicting reports there. So we don't really know exactly when she passed. We don't know if she was already gone when he got up to leave the room, or if she was already gone when he went to bed. We just don't know.
So what I read, and it's interesting that you just found this out, because this was, again, I read the whole transcript, though, the 48-hour transcript. I actually probably could find it because I have all, on Hulu or whatever, you can find all of them, although it was a long time ago. And he said basically the same thing. They got into this argument about going to port early the next day, and that it was about 2:30 in the morning, and she wanted to go home and go to bed, back to the room, stay in the room and stay in bed. And, because they were going to port early and he wasn't right, which for some, let's remember, he's there to detox, guys. Remember, that's why he's on this cruise, to detox from Vicodin. But yet he wants to go back out and party. Like, it just blows my mind. So he says, fine, go to bed. I'm going back out, like you said, with our friends, and goes out and parties until 4:00 in the morning. Now, this is all according to him on that 48-hour special, mind you. And leaves her and comes back to the room at 4 a.m. No, this is all, again, I want to say, this is all according to the boyfriend, okay, who we all know is a POS. Okay, let's just be real. If nothing else, he's a POS because even if he had nothing to do with this, how he has reacted since then, he never called your family. I mean, like, he's a POS for a lot of reasons, even if he didn't have, but we all have our own opinions on whether or not he had something to do with this. Let's be real. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But he came back. He says he came back at 4 a.m., snuggled up in bed with her. This is exactly what he says, was cuddling her. She was snoring away. And so he fell asleep. This is exactly what he says in the 48 hours transcript that I read. And then he woke up in the morning and she was still sleeping. Didn't say whether she was snoring or not, just sleeping. And so he said, oh, I'm going to let her sleep, which I thought the same exact thing that you did. If you guys are fighting about going to port and you know she wants to go, why wouldn't you wake her up, especially if she's still like sleeping?
Yeah.
Like, wake her ass up. Sorry, like, pardon my French, but really, like, so then he says, I'm going to go and walk. He said something, I can't remember what, go get coffee, walk on the deck, whatever, and leaves. Here's what I think is interesting, the timeline, right? Because I don't know exactly what time it was, but I feel like it was sometime around 11-ish or something. He didn't get back to the room until 2 o'clock, right? That's 3 hours later. But yet, what are you doing? Like, what's happening here? Plus, like, you want to go on the port. This is your whole day. Like, mind you, this is a 3-day cruise. So you really only have 1 day at port.
Yeah.
What's happening here that you're not going there waking her up when you know that she wants to go on this port day? Like, what's going on in your mind that then you get back there at 2 o'clock, and what's surprising to me is what you just said, that they said that they could have rescued her, because according to what he said, she was cold and was unresponsive at that time, according to him and what he said. So that's why, like, he knew she was gone, like, right away. And so I just, like, don't, none of this makes sense to me. The fact that they argued, the fact that he said maybe she probably was still asleep at 4 o'clock in the morning. Maybe, I don't know how long it takes. Maybe he came back at 4 o'clock and she was asleep, and that's when he did it. Maybe she was passed out and he somehow put it, like you said, it takes 3 drops. He could have put it under her tongue when she was asleep, and that's when it happened. That's, personally, I think I'm leaning more towards that than anything else. But again, we don't know, because nothing can be done on these cruise ships, Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, so then let's talk about, I'm sorry, and please stop me if this gets too hard, or if there's something that you don't want to answer, because, like, what happened then after, so the police, they come and take her off the ship to Mexico, correct? Talk to me a little bit about, like, what happened. And Ash, we'll get to that, what you guys think the motive is, or why you think he did this. But unless you want to answer that now, do you guys think is there a reason why he would have done this? Because he was drunk and he was fighting and he was an alcohol. I mean, I have my own thoughts, but, like, what do you guys, does the family have a reason why he would?
I can't think of one. I've had 20 years to stew on it, and nothing makes sense to me why he would do it intentionally.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like, I mean, the reality is when you're in this crime world for long enough, there doesn't always have to be a motive, right? I mean, people do crazy things, especially when they're drunk and when they are on rugs, or no, he's running around free. Nothing was ever charged with him. Like, so, I mean, and Gina's right. If he was truly trying to detox, like, like, people, especially when they're drunk, if they had a fight, who knows? Like, maybe he was having an affair. Who knows what was going on in his mind at that time? Like, people don't always have to have a motive to do something crazy like that. This is just the reality of the life we're living in, particularly. And he could have gone into psychosis. Who knows? I mean, no, he was never, Tara, that's why we're having this conversation, because this happened 20 years ago, and the family is looking for answers still.
He did get questioned by the FBI, but we don't know what was said. So I did a FOIA request that was initially denied, but now it's under appeal. So hopefully I can get all of that.
Why was it initially? Why was it denied? Was it because it was in? Again, see, because you're on a cruise and you're in these different worlds, if you will. Like, is that why? Because
No, they cited third party confidentiality.
but you're her family.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. I was like, maybe that's why they reopened it when I appealed it and said, hey, this is my sister. I like, you know, I attached a copy of her obituary because I don't have her death certificate, but I attached a copy of her obituary and they emailed me back saying that they were reopening it. So I think I read somewhere that they're supposed to respond within 20 days and it's been 14. So it should be pretty soon.
Okay, good. And you have to keep following up. There's one thing I will say, and someone's asked several times actually, Suman, you're not the first. It has statute. I don't believe the statute of limitation ever runs out on an unaliving case, like ever. So this is something that they can fight for forever. Okay, so let's get back to kind of the question of once they realized she was deceased and he never called your family, the cruise nurse had to, which in and itself right there there's so many red flags in this case. And again, I want to start out by, you missed me saying this, Seth, but and we've talked about this. You know, I used to be a reporter for CBS, an investigative journalist, as you know, and I helped free an innocent man from prison who was in prison for many, many years for unaliving his 4-year-old daughter who never did it. I am a big innocent until proven guilty kind of person, but there's a million red flags here. So I have to question things. And that is why your case was so sort of appealing to me and why I was like, I got to have this conversation because something has, and the fact that nothing is being done, something has to be done. So I just want to say that, like, I don't want to make it seem like and hey, if he wants to come on my show, I always say that as well. If he wants, I won't call him by his name out of respect for you, but if he wants to come on on a TikTok and tell his side of the story, the door is always open. I say that as well. The door is always open. He's more than welcome. But please tell us. So going back, to when they found out that she was deceased, what took place besides the fact that he never called your family? What happened after that?
Well, I mean, this has been, since day one, this has been absolutely wild to me. But they had to take my sister off the cruise ship. The cruise line claims that they don't have a morgue on the boat, so they have to leave the body there. But also the Mexican authorities had to do somewhat of an investigation. So they had to leave her body there, and her boyfriend and everybody else on the cruise with her got back on the boat and continued on the cruise. Like,
I read that. My mind was blown, Seth, when I read that. I was like, how does that happen? And
yes.
So his response have you read his response to that at all? Have you seen what he said about that? Because again, 48 hours. He said, oh, they forced him to get back on the cruise. He had no other option. He could not stay in Mexico. You couldn't have forced me to get on a cruise. You can stay in Mexico. You have a passport. You can fly back. Like, how did they didn't physically pick you up and put you on a cruise? Like, let's be real here.
I've heard tons of stories of people getting left at port because they weren't on the boat in time.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. So according to his interview on 48 Hours, he wanted to do everything and he tried everything in his power to stay in Mexico with her, but he couldn't. So, he had to.
Yeah, I don't believe
I read that. I was like, that is the biggest crock of BS I have ever read in my, exactly for what you said. People get left at ports all the time. That's your girlfriend, like, that you've been with for at least a year, but you have known for many, many years, and you left her there in Mexico by herself. Like, that to me broke my heart. Like, that broke my heart. And then finish telling you your side. I'm sorry. And then I'll tell you one other thing that killed me.
Yeah, I mean, my mom was out of town. I was at school in Texas, and my dad lived close to where I was going to school. I ended up making my way to my dad's house. We flew into California. I want to say it was Sunday because my younger brother was alone at my mom's house. and I was 22 at the time, so he was 19. He had my now wife, but at the time, I didn't know who she was, but she was at the house with my younger brother. And some family friends were there. My older brother had to drive to Mexico to go identify my sister. I still don't know how he did that. I could not have done that.
I mean, it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It literally, that breaks my heart. And then I might not get this part completely right, but like I'm tearing up just even thinking about this, because when I read this, I actually did start crying. Something about how your family had to wait in the rain for hours, like waiting for her, like
That was to wait for the ship. So the cruise line had asked my mom to be at port when it got back so that the FBI could meet with her and talk to her. The ship was there and it was raining, and my mom waited for 4 hours. And when somebody finally came out to talk to her, they didn't even say anything really. Like barely anything. So yeah, that was brutal.
like I just, to me, can't. I just like I as a mom, like I can't. Like I don't. I can't. I don't even have the words. When I read that, I was like crying because I'm like I can't imagine what your mom was feeling
Yeah.
in any way, shape, or form. I can't imagine what your mom was feeling.
Yeah.
I can't.
No.
And, you know, I watched, as I'm sure everybody who's watching this now or will be watching it later, either on, thank you, on my YouTube. I watched the Amy Bradley story, and my reaction when I saw the cruise ship's interview, the cruise director, it was so, I'm not going to say it was, listen, I'm in marketing and communications. I handle crises all the time, PR, that's my job now. I get it. And he's corporate, that's what he does. I just felt it was very corporate and very cold, if you will. And I'm sure he had a script he had to read from and whatnot. But I will tell you, it didn't do anything to make me want to go on cruises anymore by watching what he did. And then to hear what they did to your family after I read that, it was like, oh, okay, you know what? I will never go on a cruise. I mean, I never really wanted to before, but between these two things, the way that they treated your family, how they've treated her family, it's just like, it's very disappointing, because let's talk about that a little bit. What, if anything, have they done to support your family?
Nothing.
Carnival, I'm talking about.
Nothing. Not a thing. I mean, they never even like called my mom to ask if there was anything they could help with. There was never, I don't remember them reaching out for anything. We tried to get key card entry for the room, malfunctioned, wasn't working. We tried to get CCTV footage, not working. I think the only thing we ended up getting was key card entry on and off the boat, but that was it.
So Gina just asked, they didn't acknowledge it at all?
No, so when the boat got to port and my mom was there, my mom doesn't even know who it was, but somebody from the cruise line came out and said, the FBI want to speak to you. They'll be with you shortly. And that was it.
And Bree said, did they offer to cover any expenses or condolences?
Nothing.
Wow. It's just mind blowing to me, these major corporations. And it's like, so to them, what are they saying? It was an accidental OD?
Yeah. Yep.
What does her death certificate say?
I think all it says is the toxic effects of methadone.
Okay.
So it's not like, I do know that the Department of Justice has it classified as an unaliving.
Okay.
So that we do know, but if they're looking into it, I don't think they are. Nobody's called our family or let us know if anything's going on. So I can't imagine they have anybody working the case.
I mean, so let's talk real quickly about your mom, and because we all saw her on the Netflix. We saw her on the Netflix Amy Bradley's story. Talk to us a little bit about what she is doing to take a very negative and turn it into some sort of positive.
Yeah, shortly after, I guess I shouldn't say shortly after, about a year after all of this happened, um, George Smith's family reached out to my mom. I don't know if too many people remember his story, but it was really big back then. He went missing on a cruise ship. He was on a cruise with his fiance or wife,
Yes, yes.
and pretty mysterious circumstances. But his family reached out to my mom, and they had this kind of core group of people who had family members that were victims of some sort of incident on a cruise, whether it was an act of violence or a SA or unaliving or whatever, as like a support to each other. And then they formed a group called the International Cruise Victims, and the entire purpose of it is to give assistance and support to families who go through incidents like what we went through with Ashley, or what George Smith's family went through, or what Amy Bradley's family is going through, so that they have somewhere they can turn to ask for, do I get an attorney? Do I do this? Do I, hire a private investigator? Whatever the international cruise victims can offer them, they try to help them as much as they can.
So, is there a statistic that you can give us? Do you know, like, how many people, like, how often does this happen? Maybe not exactly what happened to your sister, but like, how many? I feel like, especially since Amy Bradley, we hear about this, like, we're hearing about this more and more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been popular lately, so we're hearing a lot more about stuff that's happened. Um, I wouldn't personally ever go on a cruise, but that's obviously a pretty personal thing for somebody like me. Now, if somebody wants to go on a cruise, I would never tell them not to, but I would tell them to always be aware of their surroundings. If they're feeling sick at all, don't go. Um, Make sure you keep all your personal property locked up and stored correctly. And then just be aware of who you're talking to and who you're hanging out with. Because if there's ever a place where you can get away with something, it's on a cruise.
Oh, it's crazy. Suman asked, can your mom sue the boyfriend for like a civil lawsuit or anything? Or is it too late for that? Or have you tried that?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I mean, I guess potentially maybe for, yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know if that's really something that my mom would want to do. Um, but we haven't ever talked about that. So I guess there's the potential for it, if for nothing else than just to get answers.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we haven't ever talked about it.
And Tina said, did the boyfriend ever reach out to the family? Talk a little bit about at all. Have you talked to the boyfriend? I know that he did eventually call you all, right? I mean, at least that's what he said in the 48 hours. He said, oh, because I will explain, since you didn't watch that, according to the 48 hours transcript, he said it was too hard for him to call your mom that first day. He was too upset about it.
Okay. Okay. I mean, give him the benefit of the doubt and let's say that that's true. He did call the next day and talk to my mom. Um, my mom, the way she explains that conversation is like she was kind of in a haze, so she doesn't remember everything that was said. She did find it strange that he made it a point to mention that his Vicodin and methadone were missing, some of it, which I think is really strange. And then when my mom asked him what happened, all he said was, "I don't know." She said that he was hard to understand because he was kind of not making much sense. But after that, we had a birthday party for my sister because her birthday was 6 days later, and he did show up at her birthday party. I never saw him, and I was so angry that a buddy of mine told me that he was there, and I said, "You better tell him to leave."
Yeah.
So, I could have handled that better, and I'll take full ownership of that. Like, that may have been my opportunity to talk to him.
No.
But yeah, that's all. That's the extent of him reaching out.
I mean, it's insane to me that he even, like, quite frankly, had the balls to show up. Pardon my French, but like, let's be real here.
I mean, given the circumstances, yeah, I think it's a little surprising.
Yeah, a little. Like, that's the other thing that I think it's interesting that he said to your mom is that some of his Vicodin and methadone were missing when no Vicodin showed up in your sister's system. Correct? It was only methadone.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't. There's, like I said, there's so many red flags here that it's literally it's so. I mean, it's so unbelievable. Like it's, and Suman said he wasn't too upset if he remained on the cruise. That's,
Yeah,
I mean, it's very, very true. I mean, what can you say? Like he stayed on the cruise. He went back on the cruise, and I would love to see, like you said, the video, the CCT video of what he was doing, that final day on the cruise.
Me too. And in fact, somebody that was on the cruise, that exact cruise, found my TikTok, and I asked if they had remembered anything, and she said that she didn't ever see my sister, or didn't remember seeing her or her boyfriend, but she did send me some pictures to go through to make sure there wasn't anything. And
wow.
there wasn't, but the fact that that even happened is,
I mean, that's crazy.
Remarkable. Yeah.
That's the great thing about social media is you never know. I mean, like you never know someone could still, like with the Amy Bradley, like there was video that people were like, oh my God, let me look back. I was on that cruise. Tell us exactly what cruise she was on, the name of it, where it was leaving, when it was, all that good stuff, because you do never know. Like I said, this is posted, this will live for forever on my YouTube, and like you never know who could see this.
Yeah, I won't say the cruise line either, but
Pretty said it, so it's fine.
It left out of Long Beach on October 14th. It was going from Long Beach to Ensenada.
And what year was this again, just so people?
2005. It was what they call a booze cruise, basically. And I know that the band Slightly Stupid was playing, and that for some reason, I want to say the Flaming Lips was playing. And those are the only two bands I can remember, but there were a lot of bands playing on that particular cruise. It was hosted by like a third party. And I can't remember the name of that company, but yeah, so it left October 14th, 2005 out of Long Beach to Ensenada and was supposed to return October 17th, I believe. I might have that wrong, but I know it left on the 14th.
Yeah. And if people are watching this, how can we help? What can we do to help? Besides bringing attention to this, which, everybody who's watching, we need to share Ashley's story. We need to tag news organizations, obviously. We need to get her story out, because that to me is like the biggest thing we can do is put pressure on everyone on the cruise ship, on the FBI. I mean, this case needs to be looked at, quite frankly. And if, Sabrina, we'll give a real quick update at the end. If nothing else, it needs to have a second set of fresh eyes. It's been 20 years. It's a whole new police force, FBI, and to me, this is a cold case because, she didn't die from an OD. She was unalived. And the question now is, who did it? I mean, she didn't have a rug problem. She knew what was in that NyQuil bottle. I mean, that was said.
According to him.
Right.
So.
Right. And the way that he acted, the fact that you're not getting any information, you're not even in the Freedom of Information Act, there's just a lot of red flags. So Sabrina, Seth's sister, Ashley, went on a cruise, and she died from a methadone overdose, but she never, ever took rugs, and her boyfriend used methadone and Vicodin They got into a fight the night of. He never spoke to the family afterwards. And there's just a lot of red flags. You can go to Ashley Barnett's story right here. You can see it right there. You can follow Seth, and he's got tons of information. This case needs to be solved. I agree, Suman. And again, there is no statute of no, he was not really. I mean, he talked to the FBI, right? So, like
we were told that all of the people on the cruise with them, so their group, that they all got interviewed by the FBI, but we were never told what was said. So, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I was a police officer for 13 years. I want to read their statements because I have some experience in interviewing people. So I'm hoping that when I get it, I can shed some new light on it and look at things from, try to separate the family issue and read it from a third party kind of perspective and make a determination on whether I think they're being truthful or not. So I'm hoping that happens. If they deny me again, I'm probably going to try to reach out to a FOIA specialist and try to get them another way. But yeah,
bear with me before my dog's going to knock down this freaking door. I can't. I'm so sorry. I'm normally more professional than this. Seth, real quickly, let me ask you this. What besides like bringing attention to this case, what can we do to help you?
I mean, other than just sharing it and putting it out there as much as possible and trying to spread the word. I mean, if anybody has like a connection that can help push it towards being investigated again, I would certainly not be opposed to that. I don't know what that would mean other than, having been a police officer for 13 years, really all it would take is one person to be, can I look at this? Do you mind if I take a look at this? Because there's enough there that their supervisor or whoever would be like, yeah, you know what, you should look at that.
Yes.
But we just need one person to be willing to do it.
And real quick, I know you said that they talked to everybody that they were with. Have they reached out to you, the other two couples that you were with? Not at all.
I knew them.
Sorry?
I knew them, but I mean, I wasn't like close friends with any of them, but we all knew each other. We went to school together. Like, they all knew who I was. And not a single one of them.
Okay, were they closer to him than they were to your sister? Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Suman says, start a GoFundMe on solving her case and hire a mega investigator. Not a bad idea.
I could.
I mean, not a bad idea. Have you, besides the private forensic medical examiner or whatever, has your family hired a private investigator or anyone else to kind of look into this case?
My mom did back in 2006, and he was not good.
Oh, really?
I mean, he didn't do anything really.
Okay.
He kind of went, well, it's probably an accident, and that's all he did. So if I could, I would definitely do that. I just,
I think you would have support for that. I'll be honest. I know that, I have great followers. I know that there would be support for that. My question with that is though, again, how far can you go with it happening I almost feel like you would have to get like an international lawyer to maybe help as well, because how far can you go with,
I wonder that too. I don't know. And I would imagine that might have something to do with why we haven't heard from the FBI, is that who knows what the jurisdictional issues are. Like,
right.
I don't know. And maybe that has something to do with it. But if that's the case, it would be nice for it to be relayed to us, so at least 100%. We know that.
But there might be I'm sure there are private investigators who are used to dealing with. In fact, I feel like they definitely interviewed like someone for the on that Amy Bradley story. Remember, there was like a lawyer who was used to dealing with, someone like him. I mean, I'm sure that he would know the ins and the outs of what you're right. There has to be I agree with Suman. The power of social media is big. Like TikTok is the best. I think it's so great that you're Ryan says that he wants to look into this case for your family. I don't know who Ryan is, but hey, Ryan, if you're a private investigator or you just want to look into it, I say the more the merrier. Like, seriously, the more the merrier. That's why as soon as I had several followers send me your story, I was like, I got to look into this. And then, I mean, it hasn't gotten enough attention, quite frankly. I saw like I said, the 48 hours special. I was glad to see that there was that. I was glad to see your mom was on Netflix, but there hasn't been enough attention on this story, I don't think, because there are so many red flags, and it's just, the whole thing is weird. And I think that it needs to be reopened. I think that a GoFundMe for a private investigator or a attorney or someone who can help you is a great idea. And, I think we need to just keep sharing and talking about this case, and eventually it's going to get picked up again. And Ryan says he's going to reach out to me, Ryan, or to Seth. I mean, you can reach out whoever.
Either way.
Yeah, probably it makes more sense to reach out to Seth. But I mean, anything that I can do or my followers can do to help, we're here. If you want to do another interview anytime, Seth, seriously, I mean, I want to continue to raise attention to this. And Ryan's going to reach out to you, Seth. Okay. So, and I told you I like to keep these to an hour because I know that these can be very emotional and are tough for the people that I interview. And I appreciate it so much. But I do want to give everybody who is watching the opportunity to ask any last minute questions or to offer any suggestions or comments or any thoughts to Seth before he leaves. And while you were thinking about that, I do want to point out one positive that came out of this story, Seth. Can you tell us about the one really positive thing that has happened as a result? I feel like your sister was looking down on you.
Well, yeah, for sure. So when I finally made my way to California, I got to my mom's house, and my sister's best friend was there, and she had drank too much, as people do in those situations, and she needed a ride home. And I told her, I'll send you, or I'll take you home or whatever. And she's like, no, I'll just call my roommate. So she called her roommate, and, it had been quite a while, probably an hour and 15 minutes. And I was like, hey, where's your roommate? She's like, oh, she'll be here any minute. It's about, it takes a while. And so, hey, babe, can you come here for a second?
Yes, we need to meet her or see her.
Great representation.
You look great all the time.
She looks beautiful, yes. This story gives me chills. Like, when I heard this story, I was like, this is Ashley looking down, like, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Like, I feel like I'm going to cry because this is, like, the best story. Go ahead, sorry.
In walks my beautiful wife, Jen, to pick up my sister's friend, Crystal, and it was immediate for me.
Oh, especially with allergies going crazy and all the things.
Yeah. So that's how we met, and we hit it off immediately.
I love that. You guys, tell me that is not like Ashley looking down on them and saying, like, my brother and my best friend have to be together because they're gonna, like, help heal each other's hearts and, like, fight this fight together and get answers together. I know, Gina, right? How much do we love it? Like, I have chills. Like, I literally think that is, like, I have tears in my eyes. I have chills. And I really believe, I'm a huge firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And I'm not saying that's why Ashley passed for you two to meet by any means. I think you guys would have met anyways, but I definitely feel that she had something to do with it. And that is such a positive and such a beautiful story. Do you guys have children?
We do. We have 2 daughters.
See? And 2 beautiful babies out of it too. So exactly, Simon, what a beautiful story and what a blessing to come out of such a tragedy. And so if nothing else, we're going to work to help you guys get some answers. And we're like, me and my followers, I have the best followers. I say this all the time. We work together, and we have, if you've watched any of my YouTube videos, like I told you, Seth, like, we get stuff done, we will work to do whatever it takes to help you. We are part of the Ashley Barnett family now, and we're going to do whatever it takes to help get this story told, help get it resolved, and whatever it takes to, like, get you guys some answers because you deserve it. And it's been 22 damn long, 20, not 22, but 22 damn long years. 2 decades is too long. and we need to keep bringing attention to this. So with that being said, I know this has been a long hour for you. I know it's been emotional, and I can't thank you guys, both you and Jen, for your time and for telling Ashley's story and for sharing Ashley with us. And I just want to say one more thing. Tell us one thing about Ashley that we didn't know, one thing that you love about Ashley, one thing that you miss about Ashley, so we can all sort of have a little memory of her.
This would probably embarrass her, but she was known for her laugh. She snorted when she laughed, like really loud, and it was hilarious. Like if you heard her laugh, you had to laugh. There was no listening to that and just not laughing. You just had to. So.
I love that. I love that. So let's make everyone in your family smile and bring that laugh back in some way. Let's get some answers. Let's resolve this case. Let's get someone held responsible for what happened to her and that laugh. And we're all here to support you, and we're going to do whatever we can. Like I said, you are always welcome to come on my live and tell her story, any updates, and we're going to do what we can to help you. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you to you. Thank you to Jen for telling her story. I know it wasn't easy. And thank you to everybody who has watched live, asked questions. This will be on my YouTube channel forever. It will live for forever, 716 Girl and ATL. If you are not following Seth, please go follow Ashley Barnett's story, because that is where you will get the best updates. He will keep you updated on what is going on. That's where you can show your support. And Ryan is telling you to please reach out to him. I just want to make sure you see that on Instagram, Ryan198219, or just Ryan. It might be easier for you to reach out to Seth after this, or at least follow him. I don't want to step in, but so anyways,
follow me and I'll reach out to him.
Okay. So anything we can do, let us know. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody who's following me. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Jen. And we will see you guys all next time. Have a great night. Bye, guys.